How crazy would a crazy woman be to resurrect her dead daughter? The latest horror film, Resurrected by 2025, shocked her. A young Asian girl named Piper is waiting for the school bus. The girls next to her are chatting. Piper doesn't have the courage to talk to them. She is eager to blend into other people's circles. However, when she is talking, Piper's eyeballs are jumping up. She is still moving, as if the witch is counting her life. The girl is not a real witch, of course. She is just a blind man. But this obviously makes those girls hate Piper. At this time, Piper's brother, Andy, took Piper away in time. Andy has a golden hair. He is a standard white man. When Piper was a child, her mother married Andy. As a brother, Andy is very competent. He comforts Piper, who can't see. Those girls actually like him very much. However, when Piper returns home, Piper finds that her father, who is taking a bath in the bathroom, hasn't moved for a long time. Piper hurriedly called Andy. When Andy knocked on the door of the bathroom, what he saw was enough to be called a scene of childhood shadow. It turned out that her father had cancer. He had just begun to recover from chemotherapy not long ago. As a result, everything returned to normal. Her father went to heaven in this way. But the two siblings were miserable. Piper's mother had already died. The government could only arrange Piper to a foster mother named Laura. As for Andy, who was about to become an adult, he was put in an independent apartment with a supervisor. But Andy knew that Piper needed his own care. Under his request, the officials of the two siblings agreed to let Andy live with Laura. When the two drove to Laura's house on the outskirts, they found the house was spacious. As for Laura herself, she was also very lively and cheerful. She was very friendly to the two siblings. But soon, Andy found out that he took a photo with the two siblings on his phone. But he didn't care at all and blocked himself behind. He saw that Laura didn't care about him at all. Andy noticed that the carpet edge of Laura's house was sealed with tape. This is a detail that only blind families have. Andy thought this was specially arranged for Piper, but Laura said that she also had a blind daughter. Then she died. Piper asked how she died. Andy thought this was very powerful. But Laura was a little sad and a little indifferent. This strange kiss always made Andy feel something was wrong. When he came to the backyard, Andy found that his intuition was right. At this point, Andy was sweating. The backyard that was never cleaned up, the triangular pool of dry river, and the strange boy. This new home was full of the same atmosphere. Laura told the adopter that there was a strange baby on this face. The boy's name was Olive. It was another child she adopted. Ever since Casey, Laura's biological daughter, died in the triangular pool in the backyard, Olive had selective encephalitis. She refused to speak. In addition, Olive's hair was very short, almost bald. It should be known that European American families will not leave this kind of hairstyle for the little boy in the family, because only patients will cut their hair so short. It seems that it is the most normal choice to get away from this home, but Andy and Piper obviously didn't have a choice. When moving luggage from the car, Andy noticed that a white line was drawn on the outside of this house, but Andy obviously didn't care. Laura arranged Piper in Casey's former room. Andy threw her to a storeroom. But Andy didn't care, because Andy would be 18 months old in 3 months. At that time, he could apply for Piper's guardianship and take his sister away. However, Andy immediately found that he afraid he couldn't stay for an hour. It should be known that Andy was still in WeChat laughing at Olive's friend that she was a freak. On the first day of boarding, Andy and Laura completely messed up their relationship. As for Piper, Casey's room was very exquisite. Piper felt everything about this room with her hands. She was very impressed with Casey, who was also a blind man. She was very satisfied with this room full of girls. But Piper didn't notice. Just outside the door, Laura, an old woman, was looking at herself straightly. A strange smile appeared on her face. She could see that she was also very satisfied with Piper. When it was late at night, Piper and Andy were asleep. Laura came to the living room alone and secretly put up a videotape with a strange content. After a while, Andy, who couldn't sleep upstairs, found a light on outside. He looked through the window and saw that Laura was taking Olive to the backyard of the greenhouse. Andy could only pretend that he didn't see anything. The next day, the sky was bright and it rained heavily. Laura woke up everyone in the house early in the morning. Andy was in a bad mood, not only because of yesterday's series of accidents, but also because today was his father's funeral. Based on the most basic courtesy, Laura also attended the funeral. But Andy forgot and didn't expect that this woman's next move was quite rude. Then Laura came to Andy as if nothing had happened and asked him to say goodbye to his father. Some people believe the spirit stays in the body for months. That's true. Then he's still in there. Andy didn't want to talk to Laura, but Piper didn't care about the farewell ceremony. Andy had to say yes. However, when he came to his father's coffin, Andy realized that Laura actually wanted him to kiss his father's lips. Thinking of kissing a corpse, Andy instinctively refused. But Laura insisted. She even used this custom to fool Andy. Andy reluctantly kissed his father's forehead, but refused to kiss his lips. It seems that in public, Laura didn't insist too much, but she kissed Andy's father's mouth in the end. Maybe it's because she didn't realize how strange Laura's move was. When she came home at night, in order to forget the sorrow of the funeral, Laura held a small party with Andy and Piper. They drank a few glasses of yellow soup and played music while the wind was blowing. The three of them had a lot of fun. At this time, Laura was like a normal person. She waited until the party was over and drank. Andy thanked Laura for giving him such a chance to vent his pain. Laura said that everyone is a passerby, so it's good to be considerate of each other. Laura told Andy that since Casey left, he didn't come out of sadness at all, sleep in a bed when she was in the ground, but did anything to him. This word from the abyss aroused Andy's allergy. Andy admitted that he was very fond of Piper when he was 8 years old. He often tried to get his father's attention for this, but all he got was his father's fist. In the end, angry Andy finally turned around and hit Piper. This became a heartbreak for Andy. Hearing this, Laura had an idea. It was late at night, and she was sure that Andy had gone to bed early. This old woman spilled a bucket of urine in the cup, and then fell on Andy's pants. Then she opened Andy's eyes. This old pervert must see what photos Andy took at his house these 2 days. At this time, a scream outside the house attracted Laura's attention. It turned out that Olive ran to the triangular pool with the cat in the house again. Laura took Olive back to the house to bathe her, and then said a few words that made her uneasy. However, only silence answered Laura. The next day, Andy finally found urine on his pants, but of course he thought he was drunk. Laura and Piper are going shopping today. While no one was home, Andy went to the backyard of the greenhouse to see. He sneaked into Laura and Olive's room. He still couldn't let go of the fact that he snuck in here last night. But the door to the greenhouse was locked. Andy had to give up. At this time, Andy noticed that Olive was standing in front of the window of his room. Andy was going to talk to Olive, but when he came to the door of Olive's room, he found that the door was locked by Laura from the outside. Andy took a kitchen knife from the kitchen and opened the door of the room on the second day afternoon. Out of the most basic kindness, Andy took Olive to the living room. He noticed that Olive's right hand with a bandage had been writing something on the table, so he planned to use half of the melon as an exchange and let Olive write what she wanted to write on the paper. Olive accepted the deal, but the next scene really scared Andy. Andy hurried to take Olive to the hospital, but Olive didn't dare cross the white line at the door. Andy pulled hard and saw the scene that hurt people. At this time, Laura and the witch finally came back. Laura screamed and ran to Olive. Completely out of her mind, Andy instinctively brought the witch back to the house. This scene was obviously too strong for an 18-year-old young man. After a while, Andy noticed that Olive had written the word bird on the paper. At the same time, Laura was desperately looking at the strange tape. The people in the video also showed symptoms like Olive after walking out of a white circle. And Olive, lying on the couch, was weakly questioning Laura. Now we can guess that for some reason, Laura trapped some kind of evil spirit in Olive's body. This tape is the process of this evil ritual, and that white line is a huge step around the original magic needle of Laura's house. This evil spirit controls Olive's body and spirit, but once the magic needle is out, the ritual fails, and Olive's own spirit will return. Olive was about to escape her control. Laura was completely panicked, but at this moment, the tape showed that as long as the evil spirit kept drawing circles, the evil spirit could control the human body again. Laura quickly drew the lines with a gourd. Unexpectedly, she really succeeded. Laura then took out Andy's father's hair and put it in Olive's mouth. The evil spirit who came back to life ate the hair very cooperatively. It seems that for the evil spirit, the dead man's hair seemed to be a kind of food. But now Andy was in a bad situation. Feeling guilty, he tried to take a hot bath to calm himself down. But in a daze, he saw the long-dead father to his face. He also said a prophecy. It's obvious that what he meant was Piper. In a state of panic, Andy slipped and fell unconscious. When he woke up again, he found himself lying on the hospital bed. Laura was sitting in front of the hospital bed and it was raining outside. Andy told Laura about the prophecy, asking her not to let Piper go out in the rain. Laura said yes, but as soon as the camera turned, he hurriedly pulled Piper to the backyard to feel the rain. Then he took out Cassie's favorite clothes and put them on Piper. He also said this. It's obvious that Laura took Piper as a substitute for Cassie. Laura invited Piper to stay at her house after Andy moved out. Piper refused, of course. Being pulled back to reality by the sentence, Laura asked Piper to touch something with her hand. That thing was cold and hard. Laura told Piper it was a piece of meat. But as soon as the camera turned, we could see what it was. This crazy woman actually froze dead Cassie in the freezer. The heavy rain continued to pour, which made Laura very upset. The hospital actually allowed Andy to go home. Seeing Piper's shoes in the house, Andy seemed to understand what happened. But this time he learned to remain silent. In the middle of the night, Laura turned to look at the tape again. It turned out to be a spell to bring the dead back to life. Imitate the same death, eat the old body, and then drive the soul into the new body. The dead will come back to life in the new body. The one who acts as a man-eater and drives the soul away is Olive, who was possessed by the evil spirit. The new body is Piper. As for the subject to be resurrected, of course, is Cassie. Everything is ready. Laura came to Piper's bed. After a moment of hesitation, she finally took action. On the second day, Laura put the blame on Andy. She said she beat Piper. Angry Andy smashed through the wall with a fist to shut Laura up. But this time Piper, who didn't know anything, stood on Laura's side. In the end, Andy had to drive the car left by his father and left. And that's exactly what Laura wanted. Of course, Andy wasn't just pissed off. He came to the government office and wanted to talk to Wendy, an official of the Laura family. But while waiting in the office, Andy noticed a missing child on the wall looking for someone. The missing child's name was Connor. Connor's last name is Bird. Andy finally understood that this was Olive's real name. She is this little bird. Back to Laura. Although Andy was finally eliminated, she didn't have much time left. The evil spirit sealed in Connor's body was not Laura's pet. This thing was willing to accept the call just to eat. Waiting impatiently, she turned the whole house upside down. Finally, she slapped Laura. Frightened, Laura screamed and hid in a room. Then she passed out. The evil spirit, hungry to death, even started to bite the table in Connor's arm. It was a bad omen to have such a summoner. I don't know how long it's been. Laura woke up again. This time, she finally brought Connor to the greenhouse. The freezer with the corpse of Cassie was there. Cassie, who was about to be resurrected, had to eat Cassie's corpse first. Now the evil spirit could hide. Just like all horror movies, government officials always show amazing stupidity at this time. Plus, Laura the villain first reported that Wendy was dead and didn't want to believe that the missing Connor and Bird were at Laura's house. After hesitating for a long time, Wendy finally agreed to take Andy back to Laura's house to have a look. In the middle of the way, Andy couldn't help but confess to Piper on the phone that his father beat him when he was alive. Andy turned around to attack Piper. But this was a fatal mistake made by young Andy. Because it wasn't Piper who answered the phone at that time, but Laura. After learning that Andy and Wendy were coming, Laura cleaned the living room at the speed of a rocket. When Wendy entered the house, she naturally noticed nothing. But thank God, Andy still had a new face. While Wendy was checking the house, under the cover of heavy rain, Andy sneaked into the backyard and smashed the door lock of the greenhouse. Then she saw a shocking scene. When she returned to the house, she didn't find anything unusual. Wendy was about to leave, but at the last moment, she finally noticed that Laura's arm was bleeding. That was what Connor, who was possessed, bit off. When she realized that something was wrong, she rushed to her car with Andy, but she was beaten badly. But it wasn't over yet. Laura pressed Andy's head on the ground with her injured hand. Andy struggled a few times, and soon there was no motion. Piper was so crazy. According to the plan, Laura picked up Piper from school. But just this time, the evil spirit had eaten Wendy's corpse. Even pretending to be Andy's voice, she lured Piper upstairs to come to her. It seems that the evil spirit is really greedy today. Even Piper is going to eat it. Laura hurriedly tricked Piper downstairs, saying that Andy was waiting to apologize to her. But at this time, Piper asked Laura a question. But just now, Piper had already touched Olive, which is the light of Connor. This time, Piper finally realized that she was deceived by Laura. While Laura didn't pay attention, Piper turned around and ran into the bathroom. And there, just like the father who touched the dead before, Piper finally touched Andy, who was already cold. But reality doesn't allow Piper to be too sad. Laura quickly opened the door of the bathroom. This time, she didn't pretend. She directly said that she was going to use Piper's body to revive Casey. And what Piper was going to do was die in the same way as Casey, that is, drown in the triangle pool. Hearing this, Piper began a fierce resistance. But how could a blind girl escape the demon's claws? While running away, Piper ran into an obstacle and passed out. Laura grabbed Piper's legs and dragged her all the way to the triangle pool. The pool was filled with rainwater. She was so wet that her stomach was crumpled. She stood by and waited anxiously. Laura took a deep breath and then put Piper's head into the water. But at this critical moment, Piper used all her last strength to spit out the water and shouted. This sound seemed to awaken Laura's true mother's love. This crazy woman finally realized what she had done. Piper struggled to escape. Laura screamed heartlessly in the pool. But Cassie didn't do it this time. She chased after Piper and planned to finish the ritual. As a result, Piper kneeled on her stomach. It was all blood that was about to vomit into Piper's body. This made Cassie vomit a lot on the spot. Connor's mind recovered a little bit. He didn't continue to chase after Piper, but watched Piper run to the road and find the help of passersby. Connor looked at the ground. There was a notice looking for Connor. It was brought by Andy. Half a meter away is the border of the formation. This time, Connor walked out with his own will. And in the end, this poor child was finally found by the police. As for Laura, she finally woke up. She jumped into the pool with Cassie's incomplete body. This crazy woman killed 2 innocent lives again. After torturing the 2 children to death, she finally reunited with her daughter in the basement in this desperate way.